Rev up your engines!
Well, you know, I'm here to help everybody out, so if you're near Clarksville, Tennessee now, feel free to email me, scottykilmer@gmail.com, set an appointment for me to check out your car. Here's a happy viewer. I did his Kia the other day. You might have seen the video on it. Had a lot of mileage on it. His check engine light was on. So I checked it out, fixed it, put a new coil on, and here's the result. Hey, Scotty, just saw the video on my Kia. 1,100 miles later, the check engine light is still off. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. Hey, I love meeting people. I like helping people out. If you're getting ripped off and you want to bring your car here, let me film it. I've seen people take their car to the dealer, they get it back, it's bashed, it's scratched, the dealer says, oh, it was there before. Bring the stuff to me. Or like I made a few months ago, you got one of those Toyotas where the mirrors are melting outside. And they say, well, you parked it in the sun, you know? Yeah, well, guess what? I got a 94 Celica that's been parked in the sun its whole life and the mirrors still haven't melted on it. So maybe you've got a Corvette and the engine blew up at 60 miles like you did for a guy the other day who put it up on YouTube. You want to bring this stuff to me? You're not getting satisfaction where you're going? Like I say, contact me. You'll be here for 3.5 months more. I'm here to help. Don't be afraid. This is the real me. This isn't a Scotty scam. There's a lot of people scamming, pretending to be me. But I'm the only one who has ScottyKilmer@gmail.com. Obviously, my name's ScottyKilmer@gmail.com. I've been doing this stuff for decades, so I was able to get ScottyKilmer@gmail.com. You can ignore other people. They're not the real me. That's the real me. So, you got a problem? Hey, get a hold of me. B. Mansour says, which car should I get rid of? I got 2 vehicles. I need to sell one of them in the next 6 months. A Honda Pilot Elite, 2019, 50,000 miles, or a Lexus GS 350, 2015, 35,000 miles. I like them both, but, you know, what should I get rid of so I will get the most with the least repair? But it really depends on what you want, because I mean, they're kind of different vehicles, you know? The GS 350 compared to the Honda Pilot, I mean, it's a luxury vehicle. A Honda isn't. You got a good toss-up which one. They're both decent vehicles, but if you really wanted the longest life with the least repairs, I'd go with the Lexus. Lexuses also have pretty good high resale value. You could probably get a lot more money for that. Kaizen says, what are the benefits of PCV and EGR systems? Not counting legal emissions reasons, are PCV and EGR necessary to run modern engines? Are they performance or efficiency gains? No, those are just purely anti-pollution devices. When I was a young mechanic, they didn't have PCV valves, positive crankcase ventilation, where the gases in the crankcase were brought back into the engine and burned instead of stuck in the air. We just had a tube that came out back of the engine that the fumes came out there. In the winter, you could see those smoke coming out of it because it's hot air, right? And the EGRs were created so that catalytic converters wouldn't create emissions of nitrous oxides and stuff. The original catalytic converters came, they didn't have EGR systems. The catalytic converters burned so hot, they created oxides of nitrogen, which are pollutants, right? So then they decided, well, we need an inert gas to mix so this doesn't happen. Exhaust gas is relatively inert. Most of it's been burnt, right? So it's taking your exhaust gas and then putting it back in your engine. And since it doesn't have hardly any oxygen at all, that will lower the combustion chamber so the engine will run cooler. And then the catalytic converter will not get too hot and create oxides of nitrogen. If you take them off, the car's going to run better. They're just restrictions on the vehicle. But, of course, it's illegal, too. That's the reason why they put those on. Were anti-pollution reasons. They don't put them on race cars, to say the least. Delano asks, are Mercedes really unreliable or just expensive to fix and maintain? I've heard mixed reviews about Mercedes-Benz. I think they're nice and classy, but are they unreliable or are they just expensive to fix and maintain? They're always expensive to fix and maintain. But the problem with reliability of Mercedes is this. If you get one made in Deutschland, made in Germany, they're usually pretty well built, right? But they make them all over the place. They make them in Alabama. They make them in South America. They make them all over. And a lot of the places that they make them are crap. If you saw that video that I made last year in Rhode Island, guy brought like a $150,000 Mercedes SUV and he hated it because he said, look at all the problems I've had already. He had like 5,000 miles on the thing. It was poorly made. It was made in Alabama. They did a crappy job building it. So, you know, a lot of that depends on where it was made. And it's much worse than, say, Toyota. Toyota, I want a Toyota made in Japan. The Japanese make the best cars, right? But you get one made in the United States, usually okay, too, and the Canadians did a good job building them. So they're a little bit not as good as the Japanese one, but in case of Mercedes, there's a drastic difference between the ones made in Germany and the ones made in other parts of the world. So you'd also have to figure out where was your car made. And even if you get the German one, they are super expensive to repair and maintain. Mercedes-Benz mechanics have to be trained for thousands of these stupid little computer subunits that they got to have a star tester and do all kinds of expensive testing to figure out what's wrong with your car, layer upon layer of computer software. So, there's no need for that much technology in a car, and you buy a car like that, you're going to be paying for it in the long run. 05 Silverado says, should I buy a hybrid? My wife and I are in the market for a new car because the lease on a Rogue Sport is going to expire. This Nissan put me right with your opinion on him. What a pile of junk. I convinced my wife Toyota's better. She wants to know if she buy a gasoline RAV4 or a hybrid. Depends on, they're both well made. If you're the type of person that keeps a car forever, 10, 12, 15 years, hundreds of thousands of miles, I would not get the hybrid because eventually when they break, they cost a fortune. You'd be better off with the gasoline model. But if you don't drive hundreds of thousands of miles, you do a lot of stop and go city driving, you will save a fortune buying a hybrid because it will get so much better gas mileage in town than what the gasoline model is. So a lot of it has to do with how do you drive, how far do you drive, how long you expect a vehicle to last. The problem with buying a hybrid is twofold. One, you pay a lot more. Will you get gas savings enough to pay for that? And two, if you do keep them hundreds of thousands of miles, the hybrid isn't a wise choice because they cost a fortune to fix. Eventually, everything breaks, even the Toyotas. And when they do, hybrid cars are super expensive to repair. Like changing a generator on one of those things would be $7,000, $8,000. So you got to understand to repair those things as they get aged a lot. Maybe you do a lot of in-town driving, you don't put hundreds of thousands of miles on, you might want to try a hybrid out. You're buying a new one, so that I would never say buy a used hybrid unless you just like gambling because you buy one with 150, 200,000 miles. There's going to be some real expensive repairs in the near future. Gonga Dan 57 says, should I install an oil catch can? Scotty, I have a 2018 F-150, 23,000 miles, 2.7 liter dual turbo. Some people say to put an oil catch can, does it make the turbos last longer? I change my oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Should I put a catch can in? I personally would not. That is an EcoBoost dual turbo system. Those are very complex systems. If you stuck an oil catch can in there, it could make it run like crap. Those GDI EcoBoost systems are so complex, they have so many sensors on them, you put an oil catch can on, you're probably going to have problems. Now, those engines at 2018 2.7, they don't really have problems with carbon buildup on the valves. That's not a problem that they really have. Volkswagens did, up the wazoo, but that engine didn't particularly have a problem. I've seen many of those. They don't have carbon buildup on it. I would not worry about it on that car. And it is such a complex car with an EcoBoost GDI dual turbo system. I would not mess with playing with the PCV system because it could make it run bad and it could trip codes, could do all kinds of things. I would just leave it alone. Keep changing your oil regularly. You shouldn't have any problems. Well, it looks like old John Deere has capitulated. They're now saying they're going to give farmers the right to repair their John Deere tractors. Realize this is just the beginning. We don't know how far it's actually going to go. They get lawyers involved. All kinds of crap can happen because this is just a memorandum. Look up the legal things there. It doesn't really mean anything. The American Farm Bureau Federation and Deere and Company signed a memorandum of understanding on Sunday. A memorandum of understanding. Now let's get the lawyers out of the woodwork on this one. That really doesn't mean much of anything until the rubber hits the road, right? Just like they had a memorandum between companies saying the electric truck company here in the United States said they're going to build electric trucks with Mercedes in Germany. Then 3 months later, that's not going to happen. Too bad, These memorandum of understandings really don't mean anything. In their memorandum, here's some of the legalness. Under the agreement, independent equipment owners and independent technicians will not be allowed to divulge trade secrets or override safety features or emission controls or to adjust agricultural equipment power levels. In other words, they're going to have so many restrictions on this that it'll probably make your head spin. Don't necessarily think that this is anything set in concrete. No. It's a memorandum of understanding, whatever the heck that is. And they'll get their lawyers involved. And they can also do sneaky things like they try to do with the car industry and this stuff, where they'll say, well, we don't have to sell them the individual parts. They'll have to buy the whole subsystem. So, they'll make it so expensive to do it yourself that you'll give up and take it back to them to fix the thing. I can't wait to see what actually happens with this. Talk to farmers I know. Does this actually help you, or is it a bunch of baloney? The next time I meet some farmers in the future that have some John Deere equipment and have problems, I'll see what's really going on. Not a memorandum of understanding, but the guys actually out there where they're breaking and they got to fix them. Will they be able to get the stuff for themselves or not? Only time will tell on that. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.